Welcome to Conversation at SC. My name is Tengku Zarina, and I have with me today Datuk Nicol David, who needs no introduction really. She is, after all, our living legend, who has won the Squash World Open 8 times and the British Open 5 times. And she is also the UNDP Goodwill Ambassador for Malaysia since 2002. Datuk Nicol, thank you very much for being here with us today at the Conversations at SC. Our conversation today will stem from your discussion at the Youth for Change panel at the World Capital Market Symposium 2018, organised by the Securities Commission. So first, how did you find the energy and focus to remain at the top level in squash? Here for the last 26 years since you started winning the championships.
With squash, when I played professionally, from the very beginning, I didn't think I would be where I am today. You know, I was a small kid playing squash with my sisters, and then as I started competing, I just loved it, and that translated in what I wanted to do as a professional. But that energy still stays there because there was so much passion in squash and what I really wanted to do and fulfill my full potential, that all I wanted to do is just put the hard work in and dedicate it to what I truly believe that I could do for myself in the bigger picture. And every time I was focusing on performing and improving myself, the results came. So even when you're at the top, doesn't mean you're there. It's permanent. You have to really work hard all the time to improve yourself in anything. So that's what I just kept finding ways with my coach and with a good team, my family support. Everybody has played a huge role in where I am today, and to see me develop as a squash player and as a person in the bigger picture.
You started training hard for squash, as you mentioned just now, right? At a very early age of 5, since you discovered that. At the same time, you have been studying hard as well. So you've been scoring well academically, scored 7 A's in PMR and 7 A's in SPM. Yeah. So at that point of time, you could have chosen the traditional way of pursuing your career. You wanted to be an engineer as well, like your father. Yeah. So at that point of time, how did you choose between squash and academic? At a young age of 17, it's quite a difficult decision to go untraditional. So maybe you can share with us on how you make that choice.
As you said, it's not something that a Malaysian kid will, or any kid will go for, to pursue their dreams to be a professional athlete and to represent the country for the sport that they truly love. But what was so great about that is that I had a lot of support throughout my schooling when I was playing squash. Like my teachers and my friends have been very supportive in my studies, and they helped me out with my notes. And I couldn't do it by myself. And I was very grateful that my school and a lot of teachers and people and my friends played a big role in helping me through my success in school. But squash really gave me the fundamental values of all the key points that you need to be a good student. So learning how to be disciplined, focus, more time management, and how I can put squash and school together as I was growing up. So that really built me. Yeah, it was very useful. But the turning point was when I was 15 and I won my first World Junior Open title. At that very moment, I thought, if I could win a World Junior title at 15, why not a World Senior title? And my parents were very supportive. It was very difficult for them to let their daughter go and play squash after SPM. But they said, you know what, give yourself a go. You know, I was supported by the Malaysian Sports Council. They gave me funds to travel, and since then I never looked back. And they gave me the opportunity, and they saw my potential, and they knew if anything I put my mind into, I would do it well. And that's why I went for my dreams.
That's very important, right? Because you mentioned that your parents were also,
it's
thinking that to just let go.
It's not easy.
A different way, right?
Yes, but they knew, they believed in me, and I believed in myself that I was capable to do big things in squash.
And you did.
Thanks.
And from that also you have the opportunity also to actually do a lot of goodwill work, right? So let's move on to your some of this work. You have been an ambassador for the UNDP for I think 16 years already, right?
Yeah.
So being one for the last 16 years, from at a tender age till now, how has your work with UNDP, or maybe you can just tell also what was the work all about first, and how has it evolved over the years as you go age, basically?
So the UNDP Malaysia approached me when I was 16 years ago, and at that time I was really branching through in terms of my squash, and all my achievements have really gone to the highest accolade, and they saw this was a real good point for me to come in as a goodwill ambassador to reach out to the youth and to bring the message through their campaigns that they are bringing in and all their development goals, because there's a lot of things that can be addressed by the UNDP that I can bring forward to the youth, and so that they can understand the issues that's going on and how they can be part of helping and understanding what needs to be done in their own part. So they brought me in when I was at the time was a good point to really reach out to the Malaysian public, and then they can actually hear my voice and see what I've done in terms of my squash, and they can actually bring that forward in terms of what they can do for the country as well. Obviously, UNDP was very supportive because I was away living in Amsterdam, so they were very good in terms of when I'm in Malaysia, and the limited time I had, I could contribute in their campaigns that they have, ongoing campaigns, awareness programs, some women empowerment programs, just things for the youth to just be involved with, and also some mission work. I went to see their projects in the rural areas in Sarawak and also in Pahang, and just to be amongst what the communities in the rural areas are also going through, the struggles that they go through, and how you feel like you have a place to send this message out to the public in Malaysia, that we still have a lot of growth that we can go into, and also give the opportunities to everyone in Malaysia a chance to be better, and to even simple things as just education, to go to schools, access to school or access to sports facilities. Those small things we take for granted, but at least I could share the story from all this work that I've done with the UNDP.
So it's very much campaigns that you give talk to, or the organized campaigns just around you?
Yeah. There are mostly like existing campaigns that have been ongoing in colleges, in some on-site events, and just basic awareness of what's happening with the Millennium, like the development goals that has been set by the UNDP overall, and what areas that Malaysia can tap on to really like put their efforts in to help and to contribute in some ways. Yeah.
Good. Okay, I suppose those experiences, gave you that idea to set up your Nicol David Foundation. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about the stage, where you are in terms of setting that up, and what would be your focus for the foundation work?
In time, I would like to set up my the Nicol David Foundation. At this current stage, is in the process, and I'm working with PwC in terms of developing the foundation of and the structure of what it has to be, and so hopefully we can see that coming to form in 2 years' time, in 2019.
Okay.
And the basis of it is purely my passion is to see the youth having access to sports, and giving mostly focus on girls to give them the chance to play sport, and also to use that to empower them to do something better, not just in sport, but in whatever they want to do, whether it's in their school and in future in whatever area they want to tap on, and encouraging more girls' participation in sport. And I would like to branch out to all these areas that, you know, they don't have the access to, and maybe give them a chance to have an opportunity to play sport and use sport as a tool to develop the values that they can get to be a better person and to be empowered.
To be empowered,
Yeah.
youth and girls. That's good. So I guess that is similar to your work with the street squash as well. I know you're
Yes.
running. Okay, so let's move a bit more to diversity. You've been based abroad for so many years, since your formative years, right? And now, first question is, how would have it been different if you had stayed on Malaysia and trained in Malaysia? Would you achieve your career in squash as what you have already achieved today?
The initial part to move to Amsterdam to work with my coach, Liz Irving, she's Australian. That move was like the big turning point for me in that respect, that she too was like a top, she was world champions for Australia, and she had to train abroad even though they had the best facilities. It doesn't matter. You need to also be outside of your comfort zone to really be to be on your own, doing it yourself, being in a, because when you compete, you're not in your home. You know, it's nothing is all comfortable and easy. Family there, everything is all set up and it's nice and pretty. And you can do that, it's fine. But for me, I think the best way to learn is to be outside and to be away from what you're comfortable. And being in Amsterdam now, I've built my home there, like as a second, it's like a second home, but
right.
for training, because I can put my full effort in focusing, and I have to do things on my own. At the end of the day, you have to go and get your own groceries. You have to work. You have to go and put your own program together with your coach. You have to set up everything from your travels, and that makes you the athlete that you become today. It doesn't, and that's all purely from being abroad and seeing the difference of being amongst different people. You see, you get to know different ethnic backgrounds, and that's what I think travel is the best way of growing and learning. And I think my best learning experience is all my travels throughout my squash career.
Okay. What age do you start going out?
I moved there when I was 18 and a half.
Were you already alone, or
I
your parents
moved
followed
with,
you?
yeah, I was alone, but I moved there, and I was lucky enough that another fellow Malaysian squash player was with me, Sharon Wee. She was the national, like the captain of Malaysia, and she was with me for the year and a half. And at least my parents felt a bit like, okay, you know, like someone is there to at least guide me a little bit, and like a bigger sister. But then after some time, I had a housemate, another fellow squash player from Ireland, and we were housemates for 8 years. And yeah, so it's really a learning and growing experience when you are away from your home, and you know, you obviously have moments where you miss home, but I think I was so in the moment where I wanted to learn, I wanted to be better, that nothing else mattered. I just knew that if I do this right and I followed everything that my coach says, I'm going to be a really good squash player and be the best I can be. So why not give it a shot?
Be focused.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's not dissimilar basically with people, the young students who actually go overseas to study.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's what they seek as well.
Exactly.
Right?
It's all experience and exposure to something completely different, but how you handle yourself. And that's what you are thrown into the deep end with competition. That's the same thing. You are in a whole different environment, but how do you manage yourself? And that's what sport does, and being abroad does too.
That's right. So going back to diversity again, how do you define diversity?
I think for me, through sport, I've seen the growth of the women's sport in terms of the development with women's squash has now come to a lot of, from the time I started, which was like probably 20 years ago with professional squash, and to see it where it is right now, it's been a big stepping stone for women to have equal prize money in nearly all the major events. US Open 3 years ago was the first one that they had equal prize money, and from that moment on, it really, all tournaments have followed suit in America. So we've got at least maybe 8 to nearly 10 tournaments that is equal prize money. Malaysia was one of the first marks that had actually women were the main focus, that we had more prize money than the men, but that's because of the accomplishments from what myself and also the rest of the tour has come. But you see, and we are now one body. The professional association is men and women in under one body, and that's a big step too. And I don't think many sports, you can probably have a handful that has that. And I think with a very strong point that squash has really showed a lot of growth and diversity. And I think it's just going to keep moving forward. And then it comes down to participation for girls to play more sport, and also more kids to be involved with sport. Yeah.
I think you mentioned earlier in the symposium that now you have more squash players and even the girls, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can just elaborate a bit more again here.
Yeah, it's very encouraging to see. Just recently we had the British Junior Open, which is one of the first tournaments that I played when I was 11 years old, and now we have 4 British Junior champions, all in one event, all girls. And they range from the under 13s, under 15s, under 17s, under 19s. They basically have taken up the whole girls category, and it's really fulfilling to see that something from as little as me and my sisters playing squash to now having 4 champions at the very best in their age group in the world, in the British Junior. So it's very encouraging, and we hope they can be the next generation to be aspired to. Yes.
Well, it has been exciting talking to you today, Nicol. And,
thanks for having me.
So thank you very much again, and I wish you all the best in your career in squash as well as your real work.
Thank you so much for having me, Tengku.
Thank you. Okay.